4, Chapter 1, The Hellfire Clubs. Here we go, Stranger Things. I've just finished Season 3 and straight on to Season 4, a little bit behind the 8 ball, but here we are. We're reeling from the events that was Season 3, and as we come into it, we're obviously the pace is a lot slower than what Season 3 was, but we are presented straight into the facility, which is where Elle sort of, grew up and they were testing the powers. This was a really cool scene in terms of giving a little bit more of the background knowledge into it. So we get to see the Doctor taking the children and them using all their different sort of powers. You can see them like pushing cars, so they're like racing cars and they're doing all sorts of different things. And we actually get to see the Doctor actually performing the test on number 10. So we actually get to see the nice little tattoos, and you can see that they're listed and numbered. See all hell break loose, and we get to see the Doctor, sort of scramble to work out what's going on. And as he sort of gets on the telecommunication device, he's like, ooh, all right, there's the door flings open, and there's all, he's scrambling to sort of work out and piece together what's going on. But as he gets out, he also sees Elle, like bleeding from the eyes and the nose, where I feel like this is probably a misdirection in terms of it looks like Elle had murdered the entire facility, where I don't think she probably did. I'm thinking she was probably trying to protect it, like trying to foreshadow, obviously, the old big bad evil coming in for this season. There we're going into the slice of life, so we're seeing Elle actually moving in because obviously Hopper met a unfortunate end in Season 3, so we think. And as we go along, we're trying to see them integrate into high school life. So it was really nice to see the interactions that Elle she's writing a letter and we're actually getting her point of view where she's a little bit naive in the world, which really comes across like this is quite well acted and portrayed in the actual schooling life. Will's there as well, where he's kind of the misfit that he always is. Elle's trying to portray back to Mike about how well she's fitting in and all the different friends and stuff, where she is a misfit, like she's not going to fit into the subculture of the high schooling, so I guess that does make sense that she's going to be sort of picked on and a little bit outcast, where that was really strong. And we also get to see Max sort of dealing with the aftermath of seeing her brother being killed by the mind flare, which obviously would cause a number of different issues for you. Like she's not sleeping and she's sort of just progressing throughout the world and like sort of struggling really. Where that's come across really well. They're flipping between all the different characters to try and get you, to see what's happening. So there is a little bit of that time skip in terms of it's moved on a little bit from where we were at Season 3. And there was one part where obviously the boys are sort of, still together back in the old town, where they've started to branch off slightly. So we've got Tues still playing the Dungeons and Dragons, and then we've got Lucas who is, trying to deal with wanting to be a jock and sort of keeping that old friendship alive. So you can see the pull and the group dynamic sort of being tested in terms of where they're going to go. Where the new character that's our new dungeon master, he's a little bit over the top, a little bit too dramatic, but I didn't mind that. Like if you've seen a few Dungeons and Dragons players, like there are a few people that are kind of like that, a little bit more eccentric, which is fine. Like I know some people call him out for overacting, but I didn't mind it. That's what I felt like it. Like they're really invested in the Dungeons and Dragons, and I know in that time Dungeons and Dragons was sort of was a bit ridiculed in terms of it being, say, satanic rituals and stuff. So like they're going to sort of hand that up a little bit, and you can see the conflicts between the jocks and the D&D crew. And then we're presented to a new character, Chrissy, who does sort of go into the woods and has a little bit of a mental breakdown, which really felt like it had some inspiration from the Evil Dead. So the actual, I guess, monsters or zombies that she sort of sees do look like the Evil Dead kind of characters, and it felt like there was a big bad sort of chasing her, which gave me like some Evil Dead kind of vibes. But as we're presented to the big bad who comes in, and he just all of a sudden, he's pretty cool. Like he's a humanoid, he looks pretty he looks pretty buff for a dead, decaying corpse. But he comes in, he doesn't say overly much, but like his whole demeanour and just the way he looks, he gives you the sideways sort of head tilts, which I'm guessing he's trying to signal that he's a little bit deranged, I guess, for a decaying corpse. And he just, absolutely wrecks her. So she doesn't stand a chance. Like, she's having the visions, and it flashes back to old mate, and he's looking around trying to get a little bit worried. Well, that was the first vision. So when she's in the woods, she gets to presented with obviously those horror images, and then later on Missy goes off with the new D&D the D&D master, and all of a sudden she's off to get drugs to, I guess, cope with these something in her life, like she's struggling somewhere along the lines and wants that escape. But she is standing in the living room, and while he's searching for drugs that she's going to obviously buy, and she finally gets to meet the big bad, and she gets absolutely mangled, like the point where there's just complete disfiguration. She's flung up to the roof, all her jaws and all her ligaments and all stuff are all broken. Like, it's pretty terrifying to watch, and she just collapses as a corpse. And then we get to kick off into the police rolling up, and obviously the news is going to break to the town, where Joyce is actually presented with a Russian doll, and we get to learn a little bit that Hopper may not actually be dead. So I think that's going to be pretty cool moving forward. Like, that's going to be a nice sort of interaction to see how he survived and what's going to happen to him. And I'm really excited for episode 2. What you thought about the episode and what you think the big bad's going to do? Like, I think he's probably pretty cool compared to the other big bads that we've had in season 1, 2 and 3. So yeah, you know what to do. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends.